Hello everyone, my name is Azam Ray and welcome to the class 2 of our series on short map animation where I share my approach to creating a short map animation in Geolayers3 from script writing to the final product. In the class 1 we discussed about script writing, and today in class 2 we will be discussing about I will be giving sort of presentation on storyboard design. So without wasting any time, let's go to my computer screen. So I want to start by giving this example of the first page of this presentation that I created. And this should clear up what kind of approach you should have while designing the video from script. So I created this page of this slide from ChatGPT, and you should tell me whether this cover is better or the one that I'm going to show you next. This cover is better. You should tell me in the comments. So I have asked around to some volunteers, some judges, and totally unbiased, and they have suggested that this cover is much better than the earlier version that I showed. And the reason I think is that this is about sharing the clear message that you want to share. This is very clean design. This most of the time this doesn't make sense. The elements in this page doesn't make sense, and the elements make much better sense, portray or give the idea that I want to share with this slide more clearly than the last slide that I shared. And it has a lot of clutter, unnecessary elements that we don't need to display our main message, which is that this is a slide show about storyboard design of a map animation. The next slide that I created personally on Photoshop shares this message much more clearly. So this is the kind of approach that you should have for the design in your short map animations. So this is the message that I want to get right away, and let's go to next storyboard. So what is storyboard? The storyboard is the process where you structure your script for the designs that are going to be in the video before editing it in the geolayers or creating the animations, to decrease the decision making process during the animation, during the editing part in After Effects. So what I mean by this, the main objective of this process is to decrease the time spent on what kind of color a map should have, what kind of map you should use, what kind of color the text should have, what kind of, where the glow will be, and where will be the position animation, where will be the scale animation. All of these things are decisions that you make while editing, and I think you could decrease a lot of these decisions if you just structures these decisions into instructions on the script before going into After Effects or Geolayers. For example, like I have here, this is the line that is from one of my recent videos that I shared on the channel about two Aldi stores, and this is the first line, the hook line. Most Brits don't realize, but two foreign supermarkets are quietly dominating the UK. I read the script and I wrote the instruction for the design in the video. That two contrasting color circles will be popping up like viral disease across the UK map, highlighting the locations of these stores. I decreased my decision while editing. I don't have to think about what kind of color will they be having, or what kind of design will this line have in the display of short map animations. So this is the final frame that we got, and yeah, it decreased my time. So this is a process that I think makes much easier, saves a lot of time in your geolayers editing. So this is basically storyboard design. What kind of sentences would require these instructions? So editing should feel inevitable. First of all, you see a sentence in a script and you just think like, yeah, there is gonna be a glow at this point. I will highlight this text. This text is important. It's gonna get a deep glow. It's gonna get a stroke, something like that. So the design of the sentence will feel inevitable. This is about separating the editing from the design part. When you separate both of these and decide individually in stepwise manner the decisions required for both of these, I think that will improve the overall process, overall result. And finally, the purpose of this is that you should, when you are going into editing, you should already know what the short particular sentence in a script is supposed to do, is supposed to be, how it's going to be displayed. You should already know these things. This is basically storyboard design. So to start with, we are going to focus on some of the things that you should remember that you should not do while doing your storyboard designs. So I will be looking, starting by what you should not do in your design, what decreases your authority, your overall trust of viewer in you, and overall makes your video look bad or not unserious, like we talked about in the last video. So number one is that overwhelming the viewer with a lot of effects, a lot of data in a single frame, a lot of images in a single frame, and this kind of causes this viewer's fatigue and hangover for the viewer. This reminds them of this absent-mindedness that I talked about in the last video. And here I have shared some examples for that. So the camera movements like Glow 60, first of all, they cause me this viewer's fatigue, I guess. When you have a lot of elements in a single frame, these elements can compete for the attention of your viewer, and this can cause the viewers to swipe up your video. So here are some examples. This guy has shown these three countries. He's comparing these to UK and USA to UAE. What he could have done is that simply shown this map on a background like this, and then compared the UK and USA map with them, like we see a lot in a lot of Geo Globe Tales videos. For example, this is a frame from a video of Geo Globe Tales on the same topic. And look how he has compared the size of UAE with other countries. He has this background, and then he has this UAE with a vibe transition that we you might have seen in my time zone video. He has this vibe transition and got this UAE map on a simple background, and then shared it with Portugal or Austria map size. And I think it conveys the message in much more clearer manner, and does not cause the viewers fatigue that we might have in you seeing this design. And he has spent a lot of effort on making these maps complex with these lines and design or this text, and then giving this shadow with this color, and I think that doesn't need to be added to this. And for this example, this is another video about how Mexico lost its territory, and this guy has just moved the camera a bit here and there and just dumped the whole story on this single frame. First he talked about that Texas had a lot of money, UK bar, USA bought, and Mexico didn't liked it, and just showed it with emoji and used he did a lot of stuff in the single frame, dumped all of his elements, all of his story, all of his visuals on a single frame without any transition, so that we might see in Geo Globe Tales videos. And similarly with this, I think it could have the text didn't need to take up so much space, first of all. Second of all, the glow, the choice of colors is, I think, more dull, monotone, and I think it could have much better vibes if the colors were a bit different or the fonts were a bit smaller. and we don't need the stars. A decent label could have worked much better here, like you might have seen in the train video that I created recently. The glow was not needed, the outlines of the UK were not unneeded, and they are unnecessary. So these are the kind of things that you should avoid to cause the viewers fatigue. Let's go to the second one. So the second thing that you should not do is focusing too much on editing instead of storytelling, like the camera movements, adding a lot of camera movements here, there, here, there, here, there. As I explained earlier in a video on where I shared the camera movements of Cognize, is how they just animate the zooms of the camera and maybe latitude and altitude of the camera, latitude and longitude of the camera, sorry. And for the bearing and pitch, they just add a ping pong or loop expression. If you don't understand what I mean, just check out my video on this camera movement where I share camera movements like Cognize, kind of tutorial. So here, one of the things that I discovered recently is that camera movements must answer a narrative. You should be intentional about your camera movements. There should be a reason for zoom in on a particular object. For example, here we see that this is a video that again I took from Geolayers, and they had this zoom in on Australia because this was video was about that the vibe was, is Australia is dangerous. So this was the hook, and for the hook what the guy did was that he focused on took the Australia in center and added an ominous riser at the start for sound design, and added this light black fade on it with a much mask and feather. This was basically the camera movements in. So here I have developed some reasoning using ChatGPT that the slow push into something should be showing inevitability. For example, Russia is attacking Ukraine or Trump is trying to buy Greenland. So there should be a push into Trump or USA because this is the thing that is inevitable. And fast snap into or snap back should be about showing shock. You might see this in map and myth videos. Next is about tilt increase. This is about changing the pitch, bringing the map in a horizon, which shows the enormity of something, I think, the size of something, and the power of or scale. If you want to talk about the power or scale of a country, like you are making a video on which army is better, USA or China. So this is the kind of stuff that you should keep in mind. Next mistake that I think people make in their short map animations, which makes them look unprofessional, non-serious, is that the videos don't have any particular theme or color logic in them. They go into the editing part without thinking what kind of the vibe the video is giving, the script is giving. Like, for example, if there is a video about Trump trying to attack Greenland, it's about warning, showing alarm. The emotion we are trying to evoke in the viewer is of shock, alarm, or danger. And if the video is just about what are the top richest states in the US, that video will have different kind of color logic than the video about Greenland attack or US acquisition of Greenland, because both are different kind of themes. We are trying to evoke different kind of emotions in the viewer seeing these videos. So here are some examples of this. For example, this frame is from a video of a channel, and the mistake in this is that there is no following of a contrast. Like we see here, there is a clear contrast which gives the message much more clearly. But if we don't see something like this, because we can just say that there is no thinking thought process behind this text written on this map feature. Similarly with this, the idea is okay, but what makes it bad is too much information. First of all, we don't know which thing to focus on. There was no need for this USA here text. The map is shouting that this is USA. We didn't need the USA text on it. It kind of seems immature design, and then there's no contrast between this color and this, very little contrast. And we can see that there is a lot of effort has been put into the design of this infographic, but I think it could go from 6 out of 10 to 9 out of 10 if the creator just had focused on the contrast principle, used a color logic, and thought about what kind of emotion he's trying to evoke in the viewer. And this is my one of earliest videos. It was about what if tea rained from above on UK. Idea was that the biscuits would be sold out. So now that I see my design and I think about it, I didn't need it to have this biscuits all over and this sold out just dumped on them. I could have just single icon of a few biscuits on a white background and just written sold out on it. Or I could have just biscuit and this sold out hanging from the biscuits like this. And it would have made the design a lot clearer, the message a lot clearer. So this is the one thing that you should follow. There should be a theme or thought process behind the kind of emotion that you're trying to evoke in the viewer from your script or from your video. I think it will make your videos a lot better, the video designs a lot better if you just thought about it. And for your food for your thought, I have collected these tables, and these tables show the kind of emotions every color evoke in different cultures and in different themes. So have a look at it, and just this is just food for your thought. And yeah, you can have a look at it. So here is an example of a good color theme. This is again a video from Geoglobe Tales. I take videos from Geoglobe Tales because I think they are really doing a great job at it. And yeah, I just like the way they design the storyboard for their videos. So you can see that there is a clear, just a total of 4 colors, I think, very closely related 4 colors that are used for this complete video. They have used yellow just for the contrast. If they didn't had the need for to use contrast, they have not used yellow, for example, in this frame. And for comparison of a single lake, our guy had a problem comparing USA and UK to UAE. Look what have they did. They have compared the lake with like 7 countries from the world on a single frame and not overwhelm the viewer, because the viewer clearly knows where to focus on the lake. So you should keep in mind at which object the viewer is going to focus in a single frame, and just try to keep it as clear as possible. The next mistakes that I think that people make in their designs is that when they are transitioning to a different frame or different idea, the difference between focal points is too much. Or even in the same frame, same idea, the thing that they are talking about is very far away from the actual center of the frame where the viewer's attention is right now. For example, in this first slide that we can see that he's talking about how this UK leader hates Joseph Stalin. And first the attention was at this UK map, and now he's trying to jump this attention of viewers from here to here like this. And this is the example of too much difference between focal points, the points at which the viewer should focus at a certain frame, at a certain moment in the video. If attention jumps widely between frames, viewers must relearn the scene every cut. Again, it will be too much elements competing for attention. The second example to highlight this mistakes is again from one of my recent videos. At this point in the LD video that I talked about earlier, I had to show that the LD brands were created by two brothers from Germany. This point in this year, in a certain year. So what I have did in the video is that first I talked about this Germany. The viewers' attention is in the center. Now I want to have the viewers' attention at the top, at the ears. See, this is the mistake that I am making right now. What I should have gone for this representation of a date is like the Cognize video that they do here. They could have represented this 1978 here, but they didn't want to increase the distance between focal points. Didn't want the viewers to relearn the scene. So what they have did is just represented this date scene here. So we could have made this design better if I had just added this under Germany or above Germany, and didn't increase the distance between the focal points. Similarly, this is an example of a bad design. The guy is talking about a base that USA is occupying in an African country. He has written this, first the attention is here, then the attention is it is 2 mile, then the attention goes here, Menda Bay. What he should have figured out is a way to have the Menda Bay on the runway of this object or map feature. The colors themes should have changed for the contrast of both the map feature that he used, the yellow one, and the Menda Bay. And he could have just, if he was measuring the distance, he could have just added the 2 miles like we have learned from GeoGlobe Tales, whole infographic of this distance infographic that I made video about on the channel. So the lesson that I want you to take away from this is that you should not have a lot of distance between focal points again and again in the video. This is not a rule necessarily. You can have like different focal points, but there should be a smooth transition, and the approach you should be that the viewer is not disconnected from the video even unconsciously. So yeah, that's pretty much it for this part. Let's look at some examples. So this is an example from the same GeoGlobe Tales video of Australia. I think it was a great example of how the focal point should go throughout your video. So right now he's talking about Australia in the first frame. This is from 2 seconds. This is from 5 second. This is from 20 second. This is from 30. This is from 40-second frame, and this is kind of like 50 seconds frame. So in each frame you can clearly see that, let me just quickly bring up a line, that the attention, that the eyeballs of the viewers, he has guided the eyeballs that they don't have to travel much here, and just focus in the center. He brought every object in the center, and yeah, the viewer's eyes does not have to travel much. So you can see a sort of commitment to a certain design logic, and this is how you should approach your videos. Okay, so that was it for don'ts of design. Next we are going to focus on cognitive load theory, and this is just a theory that supports my point of you should not have dumped a lot of objects in a single frame. And this theory supports that the brain has limited working memory if overloaded viewer disconnects, and you should avoid splitting the attention of viewers by having ear here and Germany here, as I have shown you in my example of a video. Example is text is far away from the map location, for example here or here. And the next thing that you should do to avoid overloading your frames is avoid this redundancy effect. This means that the script is saying a text and then you are representing the same text on the frame, displaying the same text on the video. There is a dare need to show the same info twice. You should change the words of the text that you are going to display on the screen, like I have done in my board video where that got 1.5 million views. I have shown the same info about the boat leaving the UK, but changed the text a bit from the voiceover. Example of this redundancy effect here is that Germany attacked Poland, the script says, and then there's this giant text repeating the same info. You should not repeat the same info. You should use the show rather than tell principle here. Show how Germany is attacking Poland by this maps expanding or this aircrafts flying, dropping bombs. I will talk about this show rather than tell mindset later in the video. So next I want to talk about some of the fundamentals that I keep in mind while designing my storyboard, that everyone should have in mind while designing their storyboard, even unconsciously. It will help you better structure your design, frames of your design. So the first principle is that hierarchy. You should think about what must the viewer notice first. For example, in this video we are showing a shark and a swimmer, but if we apply the hierarchy principle, we clearly distinguish where should the viewers focus must. The focus should be on the shark first, or the whale or the dolphin, and then the swimmer. So this is how you should go about your design. And you can use scale. For example, in this frame they have used scale to develop this hierarchy, and you can also use colors. For example, in this frame of from a video of Geoglobe Tales, they have used color to distinguish this hierarchy. They have used a very bright color, then the color gets dull and more dull later, purple, then green, and then there is a very with a very low hue saturation we have blue, and movement for that arrangement of visuals. For example, here in the background I could decrease. For example, if you look at the second slide of my animation and first slide, there is no clear hierarchy, which makes the design bad. I mean, the text is written, but there's a lot of clutter. A lot of other things have this bright color, which is shouting the viewer to focus on it. For example, this contrast is shouting, this is shouting, this color is shouting, this pencil is shouting, this sun is shouting. And when you're trying to focus on a single element, the other things you should not shout, because in this way the hierarchy will not develop and your design will be bad. For example, here storyboard design is the only one that is shouting really loudly that the viewer should focus on it. Other things are just there, but they are very dim. So this is the kind of hierarchy that you should think about in your design. What is the one thing that you want to focus in a single frame, and you should just focus on making that thing, that design up in hierarchy than the other things, other objects in the frame. The next principle is the alignment. Everything that you should use in your map comp in Geolayers should be aligned to the map comp anchor layer. For example, the background is aligned here with the map, and it looks like the map is sort of on a table. So this makes the design look good. You should really care about your alignments. And these alignments works when you have this transition of a text in a scene, or text is coming from up. There is a position z axis animation on it, and the text is coming in. That is the point at which you should focus really on the transition. And this frame is an example of another example of alignment, text alignment with the map. And you should really care about the map is not, the text is not floating on the map like we see in some videos. And this alignment works for the match cards for text intro, text coming in and coming out. And yeah, floating text looks amateur. And yeah, so the next principle in the fundamentals of graphic design is contrast, that I talked about earlier a bit. For example, here I want the viewer to focus on the storyboard design, and for that I have used contrast color as contrast between the foreground and background. You should keep in mind where the viewers should focus, and then work on making that thing very different from the background. For example, here the guy want to show this that these things were banned, concrete was banned, and they had to grow this wall of trees, and he has used red against the green or blue background. Here against the red he has used yellow to highlight, to make the one object loud enough, the highestness of a bridge. And here again, this is the kind of same map, same color logic like this one, but look at how having contrast between this map of United States and the population numbers orange makes the design look good. Same principle I have used here, but I have overdid the contrast part, I think a bit. I could have gone just this is another video of mine, and I could have just gone with the yellow here on the dolphin's background. I have tried to show the dolphin because without this glow that you see behind the dolphin, the contrast was not much and the dolphin was not visible clearly. So this is why I had added this glow behind it by duplicating it and applying a fill, making it blue, and then applying a simple glow on it, and playing with the settings. So this is the importance of contrast that you should keep in mind if you want to make your designs better. Next is about consistency. Consistency that we saw in Geoglotals. This is what consistency is. Focus should be in the center, and he has been consistent with it in his design. Borders should animate same way. Consistency develops trust, and commitment should be to our design. If you are using icons for your video, then you should only try to use icons as much as you can. Don't try to include real humans in it. Get 2D vectors of humans. If you're using very minimalist blank persons from the internet, try to use everything blank. Even for the population, use blank. Even for the houses, use minimalist icons. But if you're using 3D, try to use 3D for all the things, all the frames in the design. Next principle in fundamentals of graphic design is balance. There should be a balance, and this is about not overwhelming the viewer with visuals, overloading the frame. For example, this is the some frames that I copied from AVTV school. By the way, great content there for anyone looking to learn editing, and they inspired me to actually make this video. So shout out to AVTV school, and this is the one frame that I got from their video that I think explains the balance principle well. For example, here's the guy is talking about, this is the HDFC Millennium credit card, and really shouting out. But two things are shouting out. There is a very contrast, and this is shouting, and then this is also shouting, and there's no balance in design. The text should be smaller either, or the card should be smaller. One of these things should be smaller than the others to develop this hierarchy. And what they call uneven visual weight is not balanced. So here is the improved version, and the card is clearly distinguished, and the text is not loud enough right now. We clearly see the hierarchy. So yeah, that's pretty much it for balance. So now that we have learned what we should not do in our design while creating this storyboard for our script, and we also looked at some of the fundamentals of design. So now we come to the approach that I take while creating the storyboard. So when I'm reading a script, my motivation, my intention is that I have to find 6 beautiful frames, 6 sentences that clearly convey the idea of this script, and I have to find a way to clearly represent these 6 sentences with design, 5 to 6 frames. And when I find 5 to 6 frames, and they basically just structure my 60-second video, and I just structure the whole video around these 5 to 6 frames. And the rules that I follow with these frames is that each frame should convey the story without me needing to add text on it, and each frame should have one focal point at a time, and there should be an emotional intention with these designs of frames. What the kind of emotion that I'm trying to evoke from viewer at a certain point. So this is the storyboard framework that you should follow. And this is just about the approach of GeoGlobe Tales that I have observed, that great Geoglobe Tales shots feels continuous. The cuts hide inside the motion. They have these match cuts. I have made a video about them, about fixing a speed graph for these continuous feel of match cuts of motion. For example, I have created this video of Thames barrier. Let me just quickly pull it up.
Brits don't know, but there's one piece of UK infrastructure that absolutely cannot fail. This is the
So
Thames.
I think this is a bit smoother and continuous shot. Looks like we have zoomed in on the map, but actually this is a different footage from Google Earth, sorry. And what I have done is that used the match cut technique to make the shot feel continuous. So this is the kind of approach that you should take. The end splits, the speed of both of these footages should be same. If you're zooming in, the next shot should feel like the zooming in is continued for to develop this connection between shots. So for the Thames barrier video, what I have done is that first I um, did animation on the mapcom, a zoom in kind of animation, then applied a sort of scaling up animation, increase the scale animation intro for the Google Earth shot to increase the scale a bit, so it looks like there is a continuity between the shots. Next we have this, I think this is very important, and to make you a successful storyboard designer, art director, this principle. So this is a frame from one of the videos of, again, Geoglobe Tales, and this is a New Year's video, and basically the idea here is that there is an island where no human lives and only penguins are there to celebrate. So what they could have done, like I do usually in my videos, is downloaded a penguin with a Christmas hat from this one I got from flat icons, and just added two penguins and popping up animation on it. That was just giving this vibe of telling that penguins are celebrating. But they have created these vectors of penguins and just drinking this wine and celebrating, and they created this vibe to show that penguins are celebrating on this island. So this is show rather than tell kind of principle, and I have also used it sometime in my videos. For example, in the boat video,
But you can board a ship in the UK.
for example, in this video, the purpose of adding this yacht at the start in the hook, this cruise in the hook, was solely I'm not going to animate it throughout the path as you might have seen in this video. This is only here to show that a crew leaves every 6 months from UK to travel across the world, and I tried to show it as best as possibly I can with a isometric image of a cube. I could have just shown an icon of a cruise leaving, but I went to lens to find this isometric of a ship leaving UK to really hit the idea home. So this is the principle of showing rather than telling that makes your designs great. So like here it is explained, what telling is, don't have a character say I'm sad after breakup. Show the character moping in bed, not answering the phone. These are the kind of things that take time, but if you are looking to really level up your animation, you should really keep this principle in mind. Don't have a character say I'm filthy rich, I'm worth 2 billion. Show our characters well through an expensive home, reckless spending, etc. So yeah, this is basically it for today. And here are some resources that I think will be helpful for you to find assets or vector files for your projects. I basically use just freepik and flaticons.com. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today. And let me know what you think about this class, and if you have any ideas for the future classes. Next class will be about camera movements, and we will be starting our geolayers work from the next class. Thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.